biscuit, making gravy, making cake, making cookies. Yeah, Storm's Kitchen, ooh, Storm's Kitchen. On today's episode of Storm's Kitchen, we're going to be talking about bacon. Everybody loves bacon. We'll also be doing some good old sausage gravy, but by far my favorite breakfast item is bacon. Today we'll be cooking it in the oven. I know traditionally you stand over it and the grease pops on you and you have to turn it, and sometimes your skillet's not big enough for the size of the bacon. And so I've got the solution to that. I do still like to cook it outside on the griddle when we get out to the Blackstone. In later episodes, we'll talk about cooking bacon on it. But here's the way I normally do this at the house. So I need aluminum foil, need a good sturdy pan. This is the broiler pan. I like to use the broiler pan for just this purpose. It's the only reason I use this pan for. Okay, I've got the thick cut Kroger bacon. You can select whatever bacon you want, but I like the thicker cut, and I think Kroger does a good job slicing their bacon here. So since I have the thick, I'm going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees. Now, if the bacon is thinner, I'm going to have to cut that back, or if I'm only going to put in a few slices, I'm going to have to cut that back to about 375. If it's real thin, probably going to have to cut it back to about 350. Okay, so it depends on how many slices of bacon you put in the pan and how thick it is. So we're going to get the aluminum foil on the pan, and we're going to put the bacon and get it prepped, ready to put in the oven. Look at there, 10 pieces all laid out and ready. The oven is preheated. So in the oven we go. I like to put it on the middle tray. Watch, don't burn yourself. And voila. Next thing we do, timer. I'm going to put it on about 20 minutes. I'm going to check on it again here in just a little bit, and we'll turn the bacon as needed. But I want to give myself a reminder at least on 20 minutes in case I get off and forget that my bacon's in the oven. We don't want to burn it. All right, we've got about 6 minutes left on our timer. And I'm going to be careful not to splatter the grease. Get out there, you see it frying up good. Now I'm just going to turn this. I'm going to be careful and not to use my fork and poke a hole in the aluminum foil, because then all of our grease will get down on our pan, and when we get done, our grease should be just in our aluminum foil. Doesn't that look good? We're just going to turn that and then put it back in there. Well, it's frying up nice, isn't it? Okay. And you see I also have over here a plate with some paper towels on it, getting it ready for when we do get finished. All right. Bacon goes back in the oven. Back on the middle row. Should be ready here in about 5 minutes. Get good old bacon after about 20 minutes. Again, being careful not to burn myself. Now you decide how you want your bacon. Some people like it a little doner. I like mine a little crispy. Some though don't like it as crispy as mine. So I've left it in for that long because that's going to set up nice and crunchy. The ones in the middle there are probably going to be not quite as crispy as the other ones, but if I want it crispier, I just put it back in there and let it go a little bit more, being careful not to burn it. Or if I don't want it as crisp, then I just take it out earlier. So you decide how you want your bacon, but that's a lot easier than standing over it. All right, I'm going to pour my grease in there like that, because I'm going to save that grease, because here in a minute we're going to do some sausage gravy, and I just might have to have a little bit of that grease to help out when we make the gravy. Or if, you know, some people like bacon, you know, gravy made out of bacon grease, so you could use that for a variety of things. I also put that in my cornbread or what have you, but that's nice and fresh today, so when I get ready to do my gravy, we'll go to there. Now when this pan cools, I'm just going to peel the aluminum foil right off, and it will be all nice and clean. And there it is. It's cooled down. I've just folded the aluminum foil back. Make a little ball out of it. I pick this up and throw this away, and your tray's already clean. Now we'll go ahead and we'll wash this tray, but there's no grease in it. There's nothing to scrape out of. And bacon cooked in a skillet over the top of the stove always makes a mess. This way, it does not make a mess. And it's about time to start that good old sausage gravy. First thing, you want a skillet deep enough. You want a deep skillet, deep enough for your gravy. Now I have a couple of different size skillets. This is my normal size gravy skillet, I like to call it, because it's big enough for me to make a moderate amount of gravy, enough for 6-7 people. Okay, now I have a larger skillet when I cook for more than that. Okay, but right now I'm going to use this one because I'm only going to cook today for about 4 or 5 of us. Okay, now the key here to making good sausage gravy is your choice of sausage. Now I've tried all kinds of different sausages, and to be honest with you, they're making stuff so healthy anymore, you can't eat it. I already don't put out enough grease. There's not enough fat in it. Okay, I've found some good sausage that has good flavor that won't put the grease out that I need to make sausage gravy. Okay, now remember we did the bacon. I do have some bacon grease left over, but I would like to be able to make my sausage gravy with just the grease off the sausage. And I found the perfect sausage that allows me to do that. It's Old South, and you can get it. I've got the frozen ones here, but you can also get it non-frozen. It does the same thing. It's great flavor sausage. It's got good size to it, and it puts out perfect amount of grease. And step one is to fry up that good sausage. And I'm cooking it on just above medium there. I want to fry it up nice, and again, I'm cooking here for about anywhere from 4 to 6 people. Yeah, I'm going to use 2 pieces of this sausage to crumble up in the gravy. You don't have to do that, but I like doing that. And then I've just got 3 extra pieces for those that eating that may want sausage with their meal instead of bacon. We're going to fry that up good. And our next step will be to crumble up 2 pieces of sausage into the gravy that's left. And you see all that good, that's what I'm talking about, the Old South. Man, it puts out the grease. And it puts out the grease, and that's what you need to make gravy. Okay, we've got the extra out. And I have what I chopped up. Being there, going to cut my heat a little bit. Again, you don't have to put these chunks of sausage in here. It can just be the gravy. But I like those chunks of sausage. Get me a big old spoonful, and I'm going to scatter that flour out good. And with as much grease as I've got, I'll probably put 2 big spoonfuls. This is a judgment call, because you don't want it too dry and you don't want it too greasy. All right. Again, if you need more grease, you can add some bacon grease. But looks like I'm in good shape right here, right now. Because I want to stir it up. I don't want any chunks in it, because that'll get your lumps in your gravy if you don't get all the chunks out. So you want a good paste. And you want to scrape the bottom there, because you don't want it sticking. All right. Now, if you want a lighter gravy, you go on and pour your milk in now. Okay? And that's what some people like. Others like it a little browner. My wife, she says, brown that gravy. So if you're going to brown it, you got to let it sit here. Once I've got all that stirred in, I'm just going to let it sit and brown for a little bit. Okay, but again, if you don't want it dark, if you want it a little lighter, then you just go on and add your milk to the mix now. I'm gonna let it play out here. I'm gonna let it brown up. Bring my heat back to about medium now. And get my milk ready. While I'm doing that, I'm going to turn my oven off, which I have biscuits in, and the biscuits are in a whole nother lesson. So a whole nother episode will tell you about the biscuits and how to make them from scratch. Alright, so whenever you decide that it's brown enough for you, we're going to pour in the milk. And again, I don't have a measurement for this. I just figure it out. I know that about that much is going to help start to thicken it up. So depending on how thick you want your gravy or how thin, put that in there. Stir it up good. Don't let it lump on the bottom. Don't let it lump on the bottom. And then here in just a few minutes, it'll start. You'll see it start taking shape. So we're going to stir. Get our heat just a little bit above medium there, because we want to be able to bring it to a boil. Alright, we're starting to get it to bubble now. It's thickening up. You see the color of it even changing. Alright, and I'm just gradually scraping the bottom and stirring it in to where it ain't lumpy. Now would be a good time, as I'm going to let it sit still for a minute so you can see it bubble a little bit more. If you want salt and pepper in it, now's a good time to season it. If you're making it for a group, I would probably not season it, because some people may like pepper, some people may not like pepper, some people may not like salt, some people may not be able to eat salt. So I wouldn't season it if I'm making it for a group, but you know what? I'm making it for myself. So I like salt and pepper in it. And so does my family. So that's who I'm cooking for today. So I know the people I'm cooking for. All right. Again, if I'm making it for a group that I don't really know whether they like it or not, I wouldn't put that in there. But for today, we are. All right, as you see, it's gradually starting to thicken up. Okay, I may have to add more milk here in a minute as it gets a little thicker. And again, this is a judgment call, however thick or thin you like your gravy. Alright, because it's really starting to set up now. I may have to add a little more milk. You got to be patient with gravy, and you just got to work with it. Now that's a little thick for me because when it sets up, it's going to get thicker as it cools down. So I'm going to add a little more milk in it. All right. I don't want to get it too thin though because it ain't going to set up a whole lot. This is just where it takes practice. Gravy you have to really practice with more than once. The first time's probably not going to be right. The second time you're probably going to make it worse. But by the third and fourth time you'll start getting the hang of it. Okay, it's all a judgment call, and you got to know that it's going to set up some when you take it off the heat and after it starts to cool down a little bit, but it's not going to set up a lot. So you don't want to make it too thin. Unless you've got a whole bunch of kids and you're trying to stretch it out for them. Sometimes I make it thinner then, so I can feed more kids with it. Yeah, we'll let that set up, and it's about ready. All right, so we're bubbling back up again, and that's about the right texture right there. That's exactly where I want it. It's going to be some good gravy. And again, you can add more sausage if you want. I may crumble up one more piece and stir it in there. It's going to kill the heat. And then I'm going to just pour it in my bowl here, which I'm going to take it over and serve. Get over there where we can see that good gravy going in. Make sure we scrape it off. Notice I don't have anything stuck to the bottom. I stirred it good so I didn't burn the bottom of it. Okay, and you see them good biscuits over there. Them good homemade biscuits over there we're going to pour this gravy over. Now again, another an episode upcoming will show you different ways to make biscuits. But that's a whole episode in itself because got to have good biscuits. There you go. Now we fry up a few eggs if you want them. We're going to have sausage gravy, biscuits, some bacon or sausage patties, and some eggs to go with it. Good. All right, here we have the finished product. There's our biscuits, our gravy. I've scrambled some eggs. There's our bacon that we cooked in the oven. There's sausage. And there's some homemade jelly I like to lay out and eat with that. Later episodes, we'll go over how to make some homemade jellies and jams. Later episode, we will learn how to make homemade biscuits for this. But here you go. That's a good old Southern breakfast right there. And that's going to do it for this episode of Storm's Kitchen. Thanks for joining. Storm's Kitchen, Storm's Kitchen, making biscuits, making gravy, making cake, making cookies.